Recording is on. Okay. All right. Keith, could you tell me about your role in the project?
So my role in the project was I was basically transitioning into taking over delivery leader responsibilities from one of the other delivery leaders we have here at Agile Thought. So from a day-to-day, responsibility perspective, it was basically making sure that the client and the team are following the delivery processes that we have in place. So making sure that we're having our daily Scrum calls to understand what people have been focused in on, what the day before, what are they focusing in on today, as well as impediments that might be prohibiting them from moving forward. Mm-hmm. So my job as a delivery leader is to ensure that our processes are being adhered to, as well as do any sort of blocking and tackling of issues or impediments that come up. At that point in time, the project was really starting to kind of go slow down a little bit. So that was my role.
Okay. And could you tell me about the AAPL application domain as to who the competition was for the application?
Unfortunately, I don't have that level of visibility into who they were competing with. I do know that there's basically two different solutions that we were focusing in on. One was their mobile application that we had built, as well as they had more of a content management based web solution that we were building and maintaining as well.
Okay.
So.
And then who do you think were the users of this application?
The users were both, obviously internal to AAPL as well as external to, obviously physicians. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you see that the physicians got value by using the application?
Based on what I understand, the value that it provides to the physicians was just a lot of informational resource information for them in a variety of different mediums, whether it's articles or videos, those kind of things. So. To me, it's really kind of providing them a knowledge base.
Okay. And from your perspective, what components in the application do you think are new with respect to other applications?
In terms of specific business functionality, I don't know if I can really speak to that. Again, I wasn't really involved all that much. But if you look at it more at a macro level, I would say, the idea of having a lot of this kind of knowledge base in a mobile medium, I think is something that was definitely new for them.
Okay.
And new just in general, because a lot of organizations within that market vertical really don't have a lot of mobile capability.
Okay. Okay. And when you were part of the project, who do you think were bringing these new ideas into the application?
Primarily, it was the Agile Thought team that was bringing that kind of thought leadership to the table, in terms of, what other, features or functionality can be, from a business perspective, can be enabled through some sort of an IT implementation. I think a lot of our business counterparts had more of a focus on what can be solved today, what problems are they facing today, but they didn't necessarily have a very good understanding of what does their business roadmap look like 6 months out, 9 months out. I don't think there was a lot of strategic thought that they had on it, because they were so focused in on just the day-to-day, I got to put this fire out or this isn't working. So their view was a little more myopic.
Okay. And were the users involved?
Actual users, we had a couple of internal users that were part of our team. During my tenure, there wasn't any, physicians or any other external users that were part of our team, or in this case, building out our product backlog. My assumption is that our business counterparts from AAPL, so our product owners, they were the ones that were kind of had the pulse of what their external people needed.
Okay. And then when you talked about the ideas coming from the Agile Thought team, how does the AAPL themselves have new ideas coming in? How do you differentiate their ideas versus Agile Thought's ideas?
So, the differentiator, I mean, one is it's a visibility line, and what I mean by that is, since we don't have a lot of visibility to their external users, it's hard to say if what they're bringing to the table is actually something that they came up with, or it's something that was fed to them through feedback from their users.
Okay.
On our end, a lot of it comes down to, that's what we do as consultants, is to provide additional value to them and say, there's some capabilities you can exploit that would help your business in a certain capacity. And so it comes down to, for me, being a consultant for almost 20 years, it comes down to, here's what we see, here's how we can enable your business to go beyond what you think. Here are the options, here are the pros and cons, here's what we recommend, but ultimately it's up to them to decide if they want to leverage that and take advantage of it, or if they don't.
Okay.
So a lot of that thought leadership, again, was relatively organic on our end.
Okay. And when you talk about the capabilities involved that the Agile Thought brought onto the table, were they primarily technology-based?
Yes, and the recommendations were primarily technology-based. However, it's always looking through the lens of how can technology enable their business in a certain capacity. So if their focus is increased market share, or it's cost containment, or it's operational efficiencies, we're looking at it to say, okay, here's how technology can help enable or solve those problems, or those or take advantage of those opportunities.
Okay. And then since it was an iOS-based platform, most of those technology-based was coming from the platform, or
yes.
what it enables.
Yeah, basically, the recommendations from the technology side are based on what capabilities exist within what we've already built. Now, obviously, in the mobile space, as frequent as operating systems get updated with new features and functionality, we look at those features and functionality and try to say, oh, here's how this particular technology feature will translate to your business and take advantage of X, Y opportunities, or it can solve a problem that's always been there. That's how we're looking at what technology features are available, how can we enable those in the business world so that they can take advantage from a business perspective.
Okay. But there's the recommendation from the Agile Thought team, but the ultimate decision rests on the AAPL of the
right. I mean, it's one of, and a lot of times, if you get into situations where, depending upon the health of the partnership between Agile Thought and the client, a lot of times they will, based on our experience and recommendations, they will agree to it. There are other times that they won't. Ultimately, it is the client's decision. It's something that it's not a formal recommendation, meaning it's a presentation and here's formal documentation. It might just be a simple email that kind of lays it out, or even just through simple discussion.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And from your perspective, what do you think was the most critical success criteria for the application?
I think that the critical success factor for the application, again, is, to me, it's availability. It's making sure that the solution, whether it's the mobile piece of it or it's the web piece of it, is always available. There were times that it was not, and it ended up being a lot of late nights for people, and kind of a lot of change in direction to hurry up and get back to being accessible. So to me, I would say that's probably the number one thing, is keeping it available to their customer base, whether the customers are internal or external.
Okay. And that was most of the content that was delivered through the application?
Yes, the content specifically, yes.
Okay. Now, in my research, I have a set of success criteria. that I'll discuss with you.
Sure.
The first one is that the application should match the market needs, which are
Mhm.
essentially the user requirements.
Yes.